So we're going to practice the difference quotient, and we're learning in 150 portion of the class, and we're going to do it in steps. So we're going to find f of a first, then we'll find f of a plus h, then we'll put the answer to f of a plus h on the top of the fraction, followed by a minus sign, and then we'll put the answer to f of a in parentheses after the minus sign. We will distribute the minus sign through the parentheses, and things will start canceling on us. Then we'll factor an h from all the terms on the top of the fraction and reduce the h with the h in the bottom. And I forgot to put the difference quotient here, so let me do that. And there's our difference quotient right there. So let's do some examples. Find the difference quotient for f of x equals 7x plus 5. So our steps here say find f of a first. So let's find f of a. And remember what I said about functional notation. We want to replace the x with a set of parentheses. So in 7x plus 5, if I replace the x with a set of parentheses, it will look like that. And then let's drop that a that we have in these parentheses in. There it is. And we can really drop the parentheses, all together. And we have 7a plus 5. All right, so there's f of a. Let's do step 2. Let's find f of a plus h. So just as I did in the last one, I'm going to put parentheses where my x is in my equation 7x plus 5. So now I have 7 parentheses plus 5. Let's drop a plus h into those parentheses. And I'll just kind of get rid of some of that extra room there. All right, now we do want to multiply out the 7 through the parentheses, so that'll give us 7a plus 7h plus 5. Okay, so we've done step 1 and 2. Step 3, put the answer to f of a plus h, that's this right here, on the top of the fraction, followed by a minus sign. All right, so let's do that. I'm going to go ahead and make a fraction. All right, and I'm going to put the answer to f of a plus h first. So there's our answer that we got to f of a plus h right there in this line, and then followed by a minus sign. All right, then it says put the answer to f of a in parentheses after the minus sign. So parenthesis, and let's get the answer to f of a, which was 7a plus 5. And then our formula does have an h in it, so let's stick that h down on the bottom. All right, now let's distribute the minus sign through the parentheses. So let's distribute this minus sign through. I'll have, I better get my fraction again. All right, so on the top, I still have the 7a plus 7h plus 5. Remember that a minus sign just changes the sign of everything in the parentheses. So my 7a becomes negative and my 5 becomes negative. And then I still have this h on the bottom. Now let's start canceling stuff out. All right, so I'll use my draw feature here to cancel stuff out. All right, so let's notice 7a cancels with negative 7a. 5 cancels with negative 5. And notice everything that was in the parentheses is now gone, and that should occur if we've done things correctly. So now let's see what we've got left here. Oops, I guess when I do that, all my little, it moved over. Let's see if I can maybe go back and move it back. There it goes. And I'll just go to another line without hitting return. All right. So I now have 7h on top and an h on the bottom. And since I've really just got a single term here on the top, I can cancel the h with the h. So let me do that. Well, it's not allowing me. Oh, I see why. All right. So cancel the h with the h. And let's notice that what's left is our answer. Our answer is this 7. So the answer to this difference quotient is 7. Well, it moved it, but you know what happened there. All right, so let's now do a difference quotient for 8x minus 3. We're going to do our same steps again. So step 1, we find f of a. Let's just put a parenthesis in for x. We have 8 parenthesis minus 3, and plop that a into the parentheses. So really, this is the same thing as 8a minus 3. All right, now let's find f of a plus h. Again, let's put our parentheses, 8 parentheses minus 3, but we will plop the a plus h into the parentheses. We can distribute this one though, so let's distribute the 8. We'll get 8a, 8h, and a minus 3. Okay, so we've done step 1 and 2. Let's now put the answer to f of a plus h on the top of the fraction, followed by a minus sign. So I will have 8a plus 8h minus 3. There's my f of a plus h answer. And now I want a minus sign. And then we're supposed to put the answer to f of a in parentheses after the minus sign. So parentheses, and our answer to f of a was 8a minus 3. And then let's not forget the h on the bottom of our formula. All right, so now let's distribute the minus sign through the parentheses, and then we'll start canceling terms. So we'll keep the first part the same, 8a plus 8h minus 3, but distribute the minus sign through. The 8a becomes negative, the minus 3 becomes positive. And of course, if we've done things correctly, everything that was in the minus sign will cancel out. Everything that was in the parentheses will cancel out with something else. So let's notice 8a minus 8a, negative 3, positive 3. Okay, so everything is canceled out except the 8h. So we'll have 8h over h, 8h over h, and our h's will cancel to give us 8 as the answer to our difference quotient. All right, now we've been doing some of the easier ones. Let's move on to one that's a little more complicated. Still, the same steps apply. It's just that when we simplify this one, it's going to be a little bit uglier. So let's start with our first step. Let's find f of a, just like we did with the last ones. So I'm going to put parentheses in wherever there is an x. So putting parentheses in here, I'll have 2 parentheses squared minus 3 parentheses. So I've put parentheses in for these 2 x's right here. All right, so now let's drop a into those parentheses. And in this instance, we can easily drop our parentheses. We'll have 2a squared minus 3a. Oops. Try that again. Minus 3a. All right, now let's calculate f of a plus h. So just as I did with the last one, let's make parentheses where the x is in our original equation. So 2 parentheses squared minus 3 parentheses. But this time let's drop the a plus h into both sets of parentheses. And I'll get rid of some of this extra space. Oops. All right, now here's where we've got to simplify things. We can certainly distribute this negative 3 through the parentheses. But first, let's write out what a plus h squared really means. So this is 2 times a plus h times a plus h. I'll go ahead and distribute my negative 3. So it's negative 3a and negative 3h. But I still need to multiply out all this stuff right here in front. To do that, I'll do FOIL on the a plus h times the a plus h. Then after I do FOIL, I'll multiply by 2. So a times a, our first terms, gives us a squared. Our outside terms, a times the outside h will be ah. Our inside terms, h times the a, will be ah. And our last terms, h times h, will be h squared. And I still have my minus 3a and my minus 3h. Now let's go ahead and distribute the 2 through those parentheses up front. So 2a squared, 2ah, 2ah, 2h squared, minus 3a, minus 3h. And then lastly, in order to simplify this more, we have 2 like terms right here, which will always have these 2 like terms right here. So let's add them together. So 2a squared will stay the same, but my 2ah and my 2ah will give me 4ah, and I'll still have my 2h squared, and then minus 3a, minus 3h. All right, so let's go to step 3, which is to put that horrible answer we just got, all of this right here, on the top of the fraction in the first position, followed by a minus sign. So there it is, the answer to this, followed by the minus sign. Now, remember that we need parentheses and the answer to our f of a, which is right here. So 2a squared minus 3a, all in parentheses, and let's not forget our h. All right, so our fourth step is to distribute the minus sign through the parentheses. So my positive 2a is going to become a negative 2a squared. And my negative 3a is going to become a positive 3a. And of course, I need to put my h on the bottom. All right, now at this point, we've done everything right. What was in the parentheses will cancel. So let's go ahead and cancel stuff. 2a squared, negative 2a squared, negative 3a, positive 3a. All right, now let's note what's left. So here's what's left over, 4ah, negative 2h squared, and negative 3h. Everything contains an h, so we're going to factor that h out. So if we take an h out of every term on the top, the first term becomes 4a, the second term loses one of its h's, and the 3h loses its h, and we have the following. And now, let's just cancel out our h's, and we will be done with our difference quotient for this problem. And here is our answer, 4a minus 2h minus 3.